Good afternoon. My name is Richard Tamati. I am the NADP site liaison. On the line today with us is Amy Mager from she's the sample and data processing manager for NADP. Wyatt Sherlock, he's our instrumentation specialist for NADP. Mark Olson, the program office and Mercury Analytical Lab manager. Just going through the list, and I don't know if we have anyone else from. Oh, we have Camille Danielson, who's our laboratory QA manager. So we're all available if you have questions about what you see in the training today or questions in general about NADP. We can take those at the end of the session. So let me start by sharing my presentation and see if we can do better than last time. Okay. Are we seeing it in presentation mode?
Yes, looks good, Richard.
Okay. So today is NTN bag sampling, 1 year in, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we'll just go through a few good things, bad things, and some of the ugly comments we've got. So the good, all of our sites have been transitioned to bags. Every site now has been shipped at least 5 boxes. Some are on their 6th and some are maybe on their 7th. We've been able to reduce our shipping costs, both for the lab and the sites. The bags are cleaner than the buckets and therefore less chance of contamination. Back in the spring, the Wisconsin State Laboratory of Hygiene did a survey to all of our clients, and we did get some feedback from a number of you. So here's one that falls under kind of the good, or it is a good story. So regarding the sample collection, a lot of people in our early sessions expressed concern over adding more unusable plastic bags to the world's trash, and that by returning these bags with our supplies, we can recycle them. So we did take your initial comments into consideration. So back in our early days of our training and Q&A sessions. So for bag sampling, we did start in early April of this year. We calculated that we use roughly 60,000 bags per year, and that's for NTN, MDN, AMON. And so we have started recycling. So that includes supply bags for bottles, lids, all the MDN glassware. And so we've been telling operators they can send their used bag sampling bags back to us with their used lids. So we are working to recycle all of that. So it was important to us. It was important to a lot of our operators. It does seem like we're using more bags. In reality, every bucket that the lab sent out was in its own bag. So, you know, we may be using one more bag because we have a bag to hold the sample bags, but in the end, the number of bags we actually used didn't increase dramatically. And by recycling this, we're listening to you guys. So the bad. These are some of the comments we received. So there's a glitch in the triggering resupply shipment. It's hard to get all the precip out of the new bag in the bucket setup. Any tips? Excess supplies quickly add up during dry weeks. So we need to only send clean bags and lids to reduce waste. The lids are very difficult to fit on the bucket with the new collection bag in place. And then I feel like the video instructions would be better if they had someone actually speaking and narrating rather than just text to read. So we'll go through some of these items. So the excess supplies, we are trying to avoid that. We've been sending out emails to site operators kind of 2 weeks in advance saying your next box is due to be shipped. Fill out our inventory survey, and that way we can adjust what we ship you accordingly. I'll go over the first or the top two, actually top three. There's other slides. So let's move to the lids. It is difficult. It was difficult. I'm not sure whether with time and with experience, this has become easier or if it's the same difficulty. I do hear less comments on the lids. And now if that was with the summer season, we did have a request from some of our sites where they have to hike in a fair distance. So like CO 92, I'm going to say a couple of our Colorado sites, and they did request the old rigid white hard lids, and we have accommodated them. So if you do have a site that, you have to transport the bucket a long distance, we can help you with that. As far as the videos, we will take a look at that. We have had an offer from someone who was willing to do the voiceover for that. So we'll try and get that sorted out and repost it. We also have some other ideas for video instructions, and we're trying to use resources on campus to do those. The O-rings, they are failing, they're breaking. So we are going to investigate other alternatives. In the meantime, we can ship out new ones. And then some of the straps are breaking. Hasn't been a lot, but there are a few. So again, something we'll continue to investigate. So the question about the wrinkled bags and the buckets, yeah, it is more difficult. It is, when you're decanting a sample, it does take a little bit more time, and you can't just pour all at once. You kind of have to find the sweet spot in the bag and kind of pour what you can, and then pool the water. One thing we did find at our research site at Eagle Heights, which is on campus, we have a number of buckets out there, collectors, and one particular week in the summer, it was hotter. We had 2 non-bag buckets and 1 with a bag, and the bag bucket had 2.3 mils in it, while the non-bag buckets were dry. So the question was, are the bags acting as a type of insulator and making it less apt to evaporate for the sample? So something we need to investigate further. But if that's the case, it is a good thing. So actually, I'll go back to that. One of the things you can try when you bring your sample bucket back to the lab office, your hut, before you decant, is just pull the plug and run the vacuum again, and that will evacuate the air again, and it should make the bag form to the bucket a little better and make it a little easier to decant. So the question on not getting their supplies in time. So we are reaching out, as I mentioned, with the inventory. Now the problem with this is we don't always get the correct operator information when there's been a change in operators, and we'll cover that later. But yeah, in order to even out the supply shipping, it'd be good if you can complete your inventory before on your next site visit. Once you receive that email, we try to get it out before the Tuesday. And then having that allows us to basically adjust what you're getting. So there's been a lot of dry weeks where you get a buildup of bottles and shipping boxes. And again, we can avoid that by reducing the number you get in the next box. So the ugly. These are some of the comments we've received. The bag system is terrible. When the times come from the site evaluation, I will be unavailable. I'm not sure what the second part is, but the first part is pretty telling. The bags are more difficult to use. We risk losing more sample because of the folds in the plastic bags, and it takes me longer to process the samples. The monetary savings need to be huge because at my end, they suck. I put a picture of a puppy in a bucket because I will distract you. But again, we've reached out to these sites and we hope they're going better. But again, it's less than 1% of our operators that we've gotten the ugly comments. So we're always looking for feedback, whether it's positive, negative, because it's the only way we can make it better for everyone. So just a reminder, there are SOPs, written SOPs for the preparation, the change out, and the decanting of the sample is on the website. There's videos on all three procedures as well. These are the videos we've talked about. I mentioned earlier about trying to improve them. So we'll look at that. If you have ideas on other things you want to see with regards to bag sampling, like either in video form or written instructions, let us know. A note about return supply shipping. So when you have our protocols say when you have 7 used lids, you can ship them back along with your used sample bags. Use the poly mailer provided. Each one is labeled with your site ID when it goes out from the lab, and that's for our tracking purposes. Alternatively, you can use your own packaging, but we would ask, again, just mark it with a site ID because sometimes the weigh bill doesn't always indicate where exactly it's coming from. Excess clean bottles, boxes, and lids due to dry weeks, complete the inventory and we'll adjust accordingly. However, if storage is an issue at your site and early on we were sending out a full box every time. So if that's an issue, contact us and we can provide assistance in returning those supplies back to the lab for reuse. I'll just go over some of the observer report form. We did update the bucket weight, sample weight, box number 6. Again, fill your 1 liter bottle, discard the remainder. Don't put the field form inside the bag, put it just in the box. If it's a dry week, you can either use the dry envelopes we provide and mail it in, or you can scan or take a photo of it and email it to us as well. So just going over the 4 updates. Section 6, we've now added kind of numbered steps. So, this is what you do first. Prepare your bucket and bag with no lid. Put that weight in here. And then the following week, when you collect your sample, put in the bucket, the bag, the lid, and the sample weight up here. And again, step 1, put in your bucket, sample bag, strap, plug weight in here, and then that carries down. And then when you pull your sample, you're going to add your sample plus the bucket, bag, strap, and plug weight, and that goes in the top box. And then your lid is what you take from your lid, do the math, get your sample weight. Just a reminder on laboratory supplies. So the CAL does supply lid pads, lid seal pads, packing tape, gloves. The address labels which just have the Henry Mall address. It's not the shipping way bills. dry sample envelopes, field forms, RO water, and site ID barcode labels. Gloves, we were shipping out the large ones due to the supply shortages in small packages. Now I believe we are sending those out in boxes. So those will, medium and smalls were previously being sent as complete boxes. So let me stop here and see if there's any questions from anybody on kind of what I covered previously.
Hey, Richard, there's a couple questions in the chat.
Okay. Don't know if I have the chat open. I open that up. Okay. Okay, straps haven't broken, but they are leaving black streaks on my gloves. Do I need to change my gloves or should I keep using them with the black streaks? Is that when you are tightening the strap after securing the bag? I would say regardless, you should still change your gloves if they are, if there is black streaks on them. I've had the same issue with straps leaving black streaks on my gloves. It didn't happen at first, but it is now. Okay, so this is good over time. So this might be something that that coating that they use is going to be a problem. So we will. Something we can definitely look into. And what we can do is provide you with new straps. So we'll just BA28 and BA00. Maybe it has something to do with Virginia. I assume the lower ratio of sample volume poured to sample collected in the bucket is consistent across the network. I used to be able to get the last bead of precip out of the unbagged bucket, but that's not possible with the bags. I no longer make notes about precip beads caught in the folds of the bag because it would be noted for every sample. I guess I would say maybe try evacuating the air again. And I know you're doing a comparison site, so I assume that's, it'd be interesting to see what you're seeing in the between the two buckets, although it's two different collectors. So yes. Yes, when we're adding a strap, the belt is wearing out. Okay, so going back to the belts, I think, yeah, that's what I'll do is we'll send out an email to the listserv after this, and with some of these comments, and if other operators are experiencing this, then we'll have a replacement program to take care of that. And then we'll look into alternative straps. If the bucket fills before Tuesday, do we need to mail in 2 samples for that week? So this is a tricky one. If you collect that sample, so if you're collecting the first bucket because it's full before Tuesday, then you do process it as a sample. And if you put out a second bucket, so if say by Friday it was full, then you collect that one and then you put out a new bucket from Friday to Tuesday, you would process that sample as well and send both of them in. That's the way we have it in our SOPs. And I guess, Amy, maybe you can speak to this.
About the If it fills before Tuesday?
Yeah.
If it fills before Tuesday? Yeah, that is what is outlined in the SOP. So you would basically just create 2 samples for that sampling period. And a sample is not invalidated due to being less than 7 days. So everything will be fine as far as the validity of the sample.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then going back to Virginia, sometimes when we get the lid on, I create more wrinkles in the bag around the rim that wasn't there. Some lids are easier than others. Also, I have had a sample leak in transport when the lid was firmly on. Should the bucket be transported in a bag to potentially catch any spills to measure? That's a good question. I guess putting it in the bag, another bag would be good. I know there are some sites that still do that just for, they still use a bucket bag to move their bucket around from the lab to the site. I guess it's also a distance thing. I'm not sure how far you're traveling from where you prepare the bucket to the site. So that's something we could consider as well. And maybe it might be a potential site for the rigid lids. So that's something we could also try. Another comment is, anyone's just emptied bag as dry as their just emptied buckets used to be? Okay. Yep, if anyone wants to chime in on that, that would be great. We'll keep moving on then. So site support, just a reminder, there's a toll-free number. If you have equipment problems or procedure questions, that is your best method for contacting someone at the program office and the labs to answer your questions. Network email, so NTN email, there's Precip email. One word on using the field form remarks section to report your equipment issues or other questions. Those do take some time to get through the system. So from the time you ship to the time they arrive in Wisconsin to the time they're logged in and the information's added. So, ideally, if you have equipment issues, call the 1-800 number. And then the website, the information is available at the site ops, and I'll cover a little bit of the website in a couple of slides. So again, just to remind you to keep us updated. If you reassign, you move on, you retire, you're training a new operator, let us know. Current operator contact information helps us to follow up on questions on the samples, field forms, the equipment, and as well as for NTN operators, you receive a sample receipt report, and that will have the information from your most recent sample, and you can just double check that we got the information correct. We do send out information through our Google Groups mailing list. We did one for the new website Precip, and I did get a number of calls afterwards saying the website change doesn't work. And when I checked the Google Groups listserv, they in fact were not on that list. So that's an important thing for getting your information to us. As well, we track start dates for operators for recognition awards. So as far as rewards, we just had our fall meeting, and we do recognize our long-term operators, and there are a number of operators with more than 20 years service. Here's some of the 35, 30, 25-year award operators, 20, 15, 10, and 5-year. So again, this year we did an inaugural NADP Operator Recognition Award. So the site supervisors for MD15 Smith Island, it's a NOAA site. They nominated Francis Haas Parks. So for 25 years of dedicated meritorious service to NADP above and beyond the call of duty. So if you have an operator or you have a coworker that's been outstanding for NADP, let us know. You can make a nomination, and yeah, we want to recognize our operators. Just a reminder, we are on social media, and I always tell the social media team leader that I will make a plug for them. So if you have interesting site photos, we can always use those for the calendar. You can send them to that website or any of our other email addresses. You can tag us on Twitter or on Facebook. And so this brings us to the new website. I kind of covered this at the end of our last training session, gave you a preview of it. As of October 25th, it is now live, and it has changed somewhat. So I just want to know if there was any questions from people, and if you wanted me to review anything, I can certainly do that. Check the chat. If you haven't been to the new website, I encourage you to do so. It has a lot more information for operators, as well as information on the program itself. So the next training session, we're looking for suggestions. It'll be in the new year. And the one question I had was this format. So we did 5 sessions this year. We did 3 Q&A only sessions for the bag sampling transition, end of last year, beginning of this year. Is this a style of training that works for you, or do you want to see? Do you actually want to see me put a bag in a bucket and evacuate the air? Those are the, we're here to make things, accommodate what you want to see. The other thing is this frequent enough? Do you want to see more and shorter, or do you want to see less and longer? Days of the week, for the program office and the labs, Monday works for us, but I have heard from a couple of operators that that Mondays don't work just because either they're off or they're busy. So we will try switching up dates in going forward. Just going back to the chat, there's a couple of more comments. Did you update the upload process yet? Yes, if you had a link before, if you're talking about uploading precip data via the website, we still have that capability kind of on our old website, and so there it will redirect. If you put in that the link, there also is a link from the website, but I can contact you directly and send you that link. And, another comment. Could you please discuss sample contamination precautions with the new bag sampling protocol? Specifically, how close to the bucket rim can your gloved hands touch? And how far under the lid can your gloves touch while tugging the last part of the lid closed? How close to the bucket rim can your gloved hands touch? So there's two ways to put that lid on. One is either to start from the back and work it forward, or the opposite is to start from the front and work it back. I know there's not a lot of grip on the lid, but that the lip of the lid that doesn't touch the inside of the bucket is kind of what you should be grabbing. And how far under the lid can your gloves touch? Well, so assuming you're using the gloves in the order the SOP is specified, then, you know, if your gloves are touching part of the lid or under the lid at the very end, you know, it's acceptable. The whole point of the lid is to avoid contamination, you know, once you get that bag in. So again, if you're using gloves in the order of the SOP, then I think if your gloves touch under the lid, then we can live with that. How do you determine who's on the listserv? My site supervisor said he didn't get the emails about the annual meeting, but I know that I did. So that's what happened was we took the listserv that came up from the University of Illinois. It was imported into our listserv program. Some point about a year ago, I think we went to the Google Groups, and again, everybody in that list got ported over. Yeah, so if they're not in there, all I can say is they should send an email to, they can send it to me, they can send it to any of our email addresses, and we'll get it added. Or they can, yeah. Okay, sounds risky to touch the rim even with gloves on. Yeah, from my experience, and we do run a site at the UW Arboretum, so a number of us do the sample changes for that site. So we're actually using the bag sampling system. We're not just making it up and saying this is a great idea and with never having done it. So so it does take practice. That's kind of all I can say is I think you can do it without touching the rim. But
Richard, just to jump in quick. Yeah, when putting the bag over the bucket, should only really be grabbing the edge of the bag to pull it down over the side of the bucket. So yeah, it can be there is a way to put it on without, you know, touching the rim. Anyways.
Okay, thanks, Wayne.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, going back to the training sessions, if you have ideas, reach out to us and we'll do what works for you guys. Suggestions, that's always, you know, there's things that we think people should know, but there's other things that you guys might want to know that we're not thinking of. So all the previous recordings are available on the website. I did manage to get the last one, this preparing your site for winter, done today. I apologize for the delay in that. We've just been super busy with the fall meeting. So I will open it up to more questions and answers if you have them.
Richard, I was wondering if I could just add one clarification about gloves.
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to, as Richard mentioned, we're at the point now where our glove supply is good enough that we can send everyone a full box of the size of gloves that they prefer. And so given that in the box that you should have recently received or will be receiving, you should have a full box of gloves in there. And then from this point on, we won't include more gloves until you request them. So when we were sending out the packs of gloves, we knew that you'd be going through that, you know, quickly. So we were just putting a pack of gloves into every supply box. But now that you'll have a full box of gloves on hand, we'll just count on you to circle on your field form that you need more gloves, and then we'll make sure we get another full box of gloves in your next supply box. So I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to make sure that, I guess bottom line is just be sure if you're running low on gloves, make sure you're circling that on your field form as a supply that you need, and we'll be sure to get it filled for you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Any other questions about bags, about website, about your data reports, about supplies, NADP in general? Hearing none, I would really like to hear back on other topics you'd like to hear from us. I know we did kind of an NADP 101. We did rain gauges. We did siting criteria impacting your site. We did preparing your sites for winter, bag sampling. Yeah. I'm not sure what else there is, but we'll come up with a topic if you don't. So, but hearing no other questions and nothing else in the comments or the chat, I guess we're done. So thanks for joining us. And again, if you had specific questions, I'll reach out to you for either supply, swapping out new straps or O-rings, and adding people to the listserv. So, but, all right, thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll edit this down and post it on the website hopefully by the end of this week. Thanks.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.